Good morning and welcome to the First Unitarian Society. My name is Kelly. My pronouns are he, him, and his, and I am one of the ministers here. Today I am joined by the worship team of Drew Collins, Daniel Carnes, and Stephen Gregorius, with special thanks to those volunteering as greeters, ushers, hospitality providers, lay ministers, and our sound tech this morning. And a very special welcome and additional thanks to our Meeting House Chorus and to member Sue Hogue at the piano. Thank you. At First Unitarian Society, we question boldly, listen humbly, grow spiritually, act courageously, and love unapologetically. If you are visiting us today, welcome. We're so glad that you are with us. If you'd like to know more about us, please stop by the welcome table that's located in the Commons right through those doors and to your left. I hope that you'll also be able to join us for coffee hour immediately following this service, also in the Commons. For those who are connecting with us virtually today, we are very glad to have you with us as well. We hope that you will continue to watch after the end of the service as the announcement slides will play again one more time as a way to help you stay abreast of what's going on here and what sort of things you might want to get involved with. And now, I invite you to join me in a moment of silence as we center ourselves and bring ourselves fully into this time, joining together once again in community. Don't leave your broken heart at the door. Bring it to the altar of life. Don't leave your anger behind. It has high standards, and the world needs vision. Bring them with you, and your joy, and your passion. Bring your loving, and your courage, and your conviction. Bring your need for healing and your power to heal. There is work to do, and you have all that you need to do it right here in this room. And now I invite you to rise in all the ways that we do and join me in the words of aspiration for the kindling of our chalice. Here today, in this place, with these people, may we listen so that we can hear. May we hear so that we can feel. May we feel so that we can know. And may we know so that we can change ourselves and this world. May this chalice we light our way. And now I invite you to turn to those around you and greet each other with signs of love and peace.
Come, whoever you are, wanderer, worshiper, lover of leaving, ours is no caravan of despair. Come yet again, come. Let's sing that through one more time for the folks who are visiting and may not know that hymn, be as familiar with it as most of us are. Come, come, whoever you are, wanderer, worshiper, lover of leaving, ours is no caravan of despair. sing that as a round. How about this side start and sing it 2 times all the way through. When you get to the end, just start again. And then I'll bring you in when it's your time to sing. Come, come, whoever you are, our blessed, whoever you're loving, ours is no caravan of despair. Ours is no caravan of despair. Come, come, whoever you are, our blessed, whoever you're loving, ours is no caravan of despair. Ours is no caravan of... The last line again. Come, get it come.
Well, I would like to invite forward now anybody who would like to come and join me for a story this morning. Good morning. Hello. Oh, well, okay. I'll see if I can live up to that expectation then. Good morning. Hello. Look, you have a whole bunch of crystals. Do you think I could borrow one just for the story? No? Just thank you. That's very kind of you. I'll give it right back. I really appreciate it. So I have a story for you today which is about a long time ago in a place far away. Yeah. I'll give that one back. Oh, thank you. That's perfect. Yeah. Long time ago, place far away, there was a king. So many of my stories start out with there was a king, right? Maybe I need a new shtick. I'll work on it. But for this story, there was a king, and he was very, very rich. He had so much money and so much stuff. He had statues. He had piles of gold. He had all kinds of precious things, paintings, and, NFTs, lots of stuff. Fancy clothes. Yes. Was it after the Renaissance or before? Look, trying to speak very strictly accurately, I think it's mid-Renaissance. Okay, all right, yeah. So, he had a favorite thing. And if you're reading ahead in the story, maybe you already know what the favorite thing is. Well, a diamond, yeah, like a crystal, a gemstone. A diamond is there's actually different colors of diamonds. I always got taught that diamonds were clear growing up, and then I grew up and found out that there's lots of colorful diamonds. The world is more complicated than adults let on. I just want to make sure you know that. But it was a big, big diamond, like really big. And I've been generously allowed to use this beautiful egg-shaped crystal as an illustration for the purposes of this story. So imagine a diamond. It's great. It's fantastic. I really appreciate it. But similar to this, right? Clear, beautiful. When you hold it up to the light, it scatters the light in a million different directions. It was very carefully carved. I don't know if you've ever seen a diamond when they pull it out of the ground where it originally was. They are not very uniform or elegant or symmetrical. But a gem cutter will take that thing that came out of the ground, which is beautiful in its own way, but not so much, not structured quite as you might be used to seeing a diamond be, and they will cut it very carefully so it has all these different sides called facets, and just make it into this very beautiful, elegant piece. So that's what he loved to look at. It was his favorite thing in the whole world. He loved to go into his treasury every day and just look at that diamond. Very satisfying. So one day, he went into the treasury, he went to look at his diamond, and you know what? There was a great big scratch in it. Of course, I'm not going to do anything to yours. I wouldn't want to do. Okay, well, why don't you want that as an illustration? You want to trade me? Well, thank you. It's so helpful. I really appreciate your assistance. So you have to imagine right now this is the same diamond, but it's got a big scratch in it. Now, do we know how this scratch was caused? Any thoughts? No? No? Any idea? Okay, so someone left the window open, there was a horrible storm, the breeze. Oh, the window's always open, I see. They just weren't prepared for a storm of this magnitude. I think it's a great theory. To be very honest with you, I don't have an answer for how the diamond got scratched. That's not part of the story. But I like this guess, and we can also fill in other blanks if we want. But the point was, there was this big scratch in this king's precious, much beloved diamond, and he was very upset about it. And so he gathered all of the gem cutters in the whole of his country and said, I need you to fix this. I will pay any price if you will fix this for me. It is. Yes, diamonds are extremely hard. They're very difficult, therefore, to scratch. But it also means, oh, okay, this one got broken. Well, but that also means they're very hard to fix. So each of the gem cutters that the king talked to said, I'm sorry, Your Highness, this scratch is too deep. I can't do anything about it. I can't just buff this out. It's not a paint that I can fill in the cracks on. It's a diamond. So one by one, each of them said basically the same thing. I would love to help you, but I can't. Until he got to the very last gem cutter. And the very last gem cutter said, all right, I see your problem, and I have a solution. I can make this diamond as beautiful or maybe even more beautiful than it was before. You know what they're going to do? Okay, well, let's hold it for everybody else, okay? And you can tell me if you guessed right at the end, okay? He said, I will need to take it from you for 1 week, work on it in my workshop, and I'll bring it back, but you cannot come and check on it while I'm working on it. You got to let me work in peace. The king was desperate. The king was very eager to get this diamond fixed, so he agreed to the deal. Here, let me give you your pieces of crystal back. Thank you so much for the loan. Really appreciate it. And that whole week, the king just sat there thinking, oh, I wonder what's going on with my diamond. I really want to go check on the diamond. Maybe if I just take like one peek, it'll be okay. So he spent the whole week going back and forth, being very impatient, but convincing himself to wait. He shouldn't disturb the gem cutter. He needed to trust the process. And at the end of the week, the gem cutter came. He had something under a cloth. He took it before the king. He pulled the cloth off. And what do you think was there? A diamond. Yeah, definitely a diamond. You think a different diamond. Yes. You think it, yeah, had... So you think it was patched up with beautiful, beautiful gold paint, which is the practice of filling in cracks in something precious, usually like a piece of pottery or something, with gold is a Japanese practice, traditional Japanese practice, very beautiful way of both putting something back together but also showing you where it broke before. Wonderful guess, pretty much on the same theme, not exactly right, but, right spiritually, definitely. So what there was the same diamond. It was the same diamond as before, hadn't been swapped out for another diamond. But instead of that crack, where there had been a crack in the diamond, the scratch, instead of trying to patch it or cover it up or buff it out, the gem cutter had dug into it more deeply, had carved it out more deeply until it formed the shape. It formed a shape of a beautiful flower in blossom. And the king looked at it, and he could see that it was even more beautiful than it was before, because now the diamond itself was like a frame for this beautiful picture of a flower. And it was very pleasing, and he was very happy with it. And he went right back to looking at it and adoring it, just the same way he had adored the diamond before. So that's the end of the story. Do we have any thoughts about what it might mean? Like, what are we supposed to take away from this? Any idea? Oh, no, you just pressed me here. Okay, all right. Yes, what do you think? Sometimes it's good to be patient. I mean, I think that's a wonderful lesson, and I think that's a lesson embedded in the story, so I have no disagreement there. Yes, what do you think?
Well, so there's this really cool bird.
Yes.
So this guy got his truck stuck under a giant bridge.
Uh-huh.
It was probably a giant truck.
Okay.
But so
Mm-hmm.
No one could someone just came along with a really simple solution.
Okay, what was the solution?
The solution was the wheel.
Oh,
That story is sometimes really simple, but
okay.
no one will ever like
So sometimes the solution can be very simple or maybe contrary to what people expect. Here's another thing that I take from this story. Another thing I take from this story is that the places where I am hurt or feel broken or bad about myself, they're things that can be turned into something beautiful, something helpful, something positive for myself and other people. But I do that by paying attention to them, caring for them, attending to them, not by trying to just make them go away. So that's my little story for you this morning. Thank you for listening to me. Now we're going to sing you to your classes.
Oh, you can make the world so bright, and you can turn the day to night, and share your gifts and spread your light, and learn what you know. Let's rise in body and or in spirit to sing the hymn, Come My Way, My Truth, My Life, hymn number 89.
Words of inspiration from my colleague, Andrew Pakula. Come into this circle of community. Come into this sacred space. Be not tentative. Bring your whole self. Bring the joy that makes your heart sing. Bring your kindness and your compassion. Bring also your sorrow, your pain. Bring your brokenness and your disappointments. Spirit of love and mystery, help us to recognize the spark of the divine that resides within each of us. May we know the joy of wholeness. May we know the joy of being together. So, it was just a little bit more than 12 years ago that they selected a new pope. Now, those of you who are squinting and doing math in your head and getting ready to correct me after the service can stop. I am not talking about the pope that you are probably thinking of. I am talking about the leader of the Coptic Christian Church in Egypt. That office is also called a pope. Back in 2012, Pope Shenouda III died, and he was eventually replaced by Pope Tawadros II. The process of selection went according to tradition. Leaders of the church narrowed the field of possible new patriarchs down to 3, And then they placed all of those names in a crystal chalice. A child wearing a blindfold picked one of those names out, and that is who became their new pope. When I read about that ceremony, it made me wonder what might have been going through the minds of those three candidates as they stood at the threshold of such tremendous responsibility. Coptic Christians are a religious minority in Egypt, and they have a long history of mistreatment at the hands of the government and the general population there. Tensions were particularly high just at that moment. The high religious office to which one of them was about to be called would be a heavy mantle to take up. So perhaps their thoughts might have been along the same lines that the filmmaker Nanni Moretti imagined in a fictional scene of Roman Catholic cardinals meeting to elect a new pope in the Vatican. As the camera pans over the crowd, the soundtrack allows the audience to hear that each man is praying basically the same thing. Please don't choose me. Most of us do not receive our callings in quite so dramatic a fashion as having our names plucked from a crystal goblet or earning 270 votes in the Electoral College, to point to another curiously obtuse system of election. There may be no particular laurels or rays of light, no heavenly choirs or revelatory visions. But all of us are called nonetheless. We are called because we live in a world which is imperfect and which requires the work and struggle of human beings in order to move from the way that it is to the way that it ought to be. Your calling is whatever you find to accomplish this. It is your part of the larger project of human history. Now, the work to which we are called is rarely easy. It is very hard just to listen for that call, the place where your deep gladness and the world's deep hunger meet, as Frederick Buchner put it. Answering that call can be a far greater challenge. For this, I want to remind you of, or perhaps tell you for the first time, about the Reverend Olympia Brown, one of our Universalist ancestors who lived in the 19th and early 20th centuries. Reverend Brown is sometimes remembered as the first woman minister ordained in America, which is not quite right, but is close to it. Today, more than half of all Unitarian Universalist ministers are women. Now, that doesn't make choosing a career that men held a total monopoly on for centuries an easy thing. But being the first person in any category obviously comes with special challenges. Olympia came from a family that valued learning. When there was no school to serve the area where her family lived in rural Vermont, Olympia's father built one on his farm and convinced neighboring families to share the cost of a teacher for all of their children. In an age when it was nearly unheard of for a woman to do so, Olympia attended college, gaining her BA from Antioch College in Ohio. Somewhere in there, she began to feel her call to the ministry. It was catalyzed when she met Antoinette Brown, no relation, who really actually was the first woman ordained in America. Antoinette came to speak at Antioch on Olympia's invitation. And years later, Olympia said of that meeting, "It was the first time I had heard a woman preach, and the sense of victory lifted me up. I felt as though the kingdom of heaven were at hand. Antoinette Brown was a liberal Congregationalist and was ordained by the congregation that called her, but never fully accepted or recognized by her denomination. Yet she became a preacher and an activist despite the numerous barriers to the pursuit of her vocation. When she was in theological school, Antoinette had to obtain special permission to speak in class. And an article that she wrote defending the right of women to speak in church was only deemed fit for publication when it was accompanied by a rebuttal from one of her professors. Gnawing theological misgivings eventually caused Antoinette to leave the Congregationalist ministry. And after many years, she eventually found her way to, where else? The Unitarians. Antoinette Brown was the first woman that we know to have been ordained by a congregation in the United States. But Olympia Brown was the first woman to become a fully endorsed and ordained minister of any American denomination. Her path came with barriers that were similar to Antoinette's. Every theological school in the country then, and indeed in the whole English-speaking world, banned the admission of women. Nevertheless, she wrote to several seminaries seeking permission to gain a theological education. Some of them rejected her outright. One agreed to accept her, but only with the understanding that she would not be permitted to attend classes with the male students. The only school that would allow her to enroll and attend classes sent a letter from the president, along with her acceptance, saying that he did not believe that women were called to the ministry. Olympia later explained, "I had supposed that his discouragement was my encouragement." She gladly accepted the reluctant offer of a place at the school, even when she arrived and found that no one expected her. The president had declared that she would never actually come, assuming that his letter would be enough to discourage her. Nevertheless, she persisted. It is a powerful thing when we know for ourselves what the most worthwhile task we can undertake is, whether it requires a moment or a lifetime to complete. But following that knowing, answering that call takes confidence in it. This is not the same as blind certainty. In some political circles, it has become common for candidates for public office to declare that they are running because God told them to. Or more explicitly, because God wants them to win. I'm not sure if anyone has conducted a study of how often candidates who make these claims go on to lose their races, but I would guess that the rate is not much different from that of all of the candidates taken together. The belief that your ambitions are divinely sanctioned not only sets up a person for disappointment, it robs them of the creative power of risk. Knowing that you are taking a chance, that you very well could fail, pushes you to try new strategies and seek new ways to reach your goals. Confidence based on delusion is a poor substitute for courage born out of hopeful principles. To succeed, the belief that what you know about yourself and the world around you is worth acting upon must be able to endure a chorus of voices trying to turn you around, Those voices don't have to be literal hecklers and naysayers. Common sense is often our chief impediment. In our self-interested and cynical society, we are taught to be skeptical and dismissive of grand hopes and any deep sense of purpose. Writing about some of the lofty purpose that guided her life and career as a minister, Olympia Brown said, "You may say this is impracticable, far away, can never be accomplished, but it is the work that we are appointed to do." And sometimes the greatest obstacle between us and following the counsel of our hearts is our own inertia. The call of the world's need can come at any time in many different forms, and most of the time, answering it means stepping out of our daily habits and patterns of behavior. Now, I do want to turn to the other side of the coin for a moment. Some of us have jobs that we are not crazy about, or otherwise spend our days doing work that we like all right, but don't love. Some of us are out of work, or just never found that perfect match between what we do and who we are. Some of us might feel that what we do is necessary, even important, but it does not free us from doubt. It certainly does not immunize us against fatigue. We all may have that still, small voice inside of us. But as a dear friend once said to me, it does seem to be louder for some of us than it is for others. So let me say clearly that there is no necessary link between answering a call from the universe and a sense of job satisfaction. Some of us find a purpose that wears the same name throughout our whole lives as parents or partners or professionals or volunteers. And some of us do not have that plumb line running through our identities. But that does not change the fact that all of us are called and that there is an opportunity in each moment to change the world for the better. The voice on the phone sounded desperate and tired. Here and there it cracked with that ring that told you that she was holding back tears. The woman leaving the message was calling on the day before Thanksgiving to tell her daughter that she was going to send her some money to buy groceries for her children. She was just going to have to miss her next mortgage payment in order to do it. The woman said her goodbyes and hung up the phone. The message ended. When Virginia Saines listened to that recording on her answering machine, she felt the raw emotion in that voice wash over her. Her heart broke, and it broke even though she had no idea who the woman on the other end of the phone call was. Lisa Crutchfield had been trying to reach her daughter, living states away, but she had dialed the wrong number. It would have been so easy for Virginia Saines, whose phone she had reached accidentally, to delete her message and return to the regular course of her day. But then that is the hallmark of something that we are called to do. When the soul resonates with the repair that the world needs, the easy answers become more difficult, and the difficult choices get easier. So Virginia picked up the phone and she called Lisa back. She told her that she had the wrong number. She told her not to worry. And she told her to make that mortgage payment. And then Virginia went to the store. She bought a whole mess of groceries, and she took them to Lisa's daughter and her family. The call of the world can come from many different places. And it may be drawing us into a lifetime's work or into a simple, single errand. But it is always there. There is no wasted time. There are times when we are tired, times when we are distracted, times when we really have to focus on ourselves right now, times when we are afraid, times when we are discouraged, and times when we don't know how to begin. But still, in every moment, there is a call for each of us, a challenge and an invitation to work that is needed and real. Both Olympia and Antoinette Brown devoted themselves to the cause of securing women's rights to vote in this country. In the late 1800s, that was a very good way for a woman to get yourself labeled a troublemaker and a malcontent. The bumper stickers remind us that well-behaved women rarely make history, and this, in fact, is true much more generally. History is never made through good manners, polite conduct, and doing exactly what is expected of us. In one obituary, it was said of Olympia that nothing exemplified her vitality and intellectual independence so well as the mental discomfort she succeeded in arousing among the conservatively minded. In less than two months, folks across this country will take to the polls in an election year when much has been done in many states to try to make voting more difficult and more inconvenient. Yet despite the high barriers to participation, both intentional and accidental, the story of our electoral system continues to be how hard folks are willing to work to exercise their duty as citizens. Like the people in previous electoral cycles in New York and New Jersey, voting in the dark at polling stations that lacked power. Or Alfie Fernandez in Florida, who stood in line for 6 hours to cast her vote, still waiting long after the polls had closed and after the presidential election had already been called for that year, waiting so long that it was Wednesday before she was able to hand in her ballot. I felt my vote was important, she said. That is what it means to answer a call. Large or small, long or short, the work, the mission, the purpose that we take up must feel important. It might be surrounded by elaborate ritual as a blindfolded child draws our name from a cup. It might come in the unexpected revelation of seeing something that we've never seen before, that lets us imagine the world in a different way. It might come in the random serendipity of a stranger's wrong number phone call. But trust that it comes. The world is calling each of us. So our work is to listen and to answer.
And when I rise, let me rise like when I stand, let me stand like a tree rooted lean. And when I walk, let me walk like a lion regally, strong and free. And waking up this morning, I smile. 24 brand new hours are before me. I vow to live fully in each moment, and to look at all beings with compassion. And waking up this morning, I smile. 24 brand new hours are before me. I vow to live fully in each moment, and to look at all beings with compassion. And when I wake, let me wake like sunrise radiantly. And when I rest, let me rest like sunset contentedly, without worry. When I resist, I will resist like the sea relentlessly, strong and free. And when I speak, I will speak like the wind, loud and free, with all my heart.
Thank you so much for that beautiful music. I invite you now into this time of giving and receiving, where we give freely and generously to this offering which supports the ongoing work of this community and the work of our outreach offering recipient, whom this week is the Respite Center, which provides emergency child care and respite for children ages 0 to 14, parent support, and crisis counseling 7 days a week. In addition to quality child care, the Respite Center helps parents and caregivers access important resources to help support and stabilize their family. There are multiple ways to share your gifts this morning. Baskets now being passed here in the auditorium for cash or checks, or as you will see on the screen, you can donate directly from our website, fusmadison.org, and find the text to give information there as well. We thank you for your generosity and your faith in this life we create together. Each week we gather, carrying in our hearts the joys and the losses of our days. We hold our own pain together with the celebrations of those we love. We share these here knowing they are held gently in care and in support and in love. Today we light a candle of memory and gratitude for the life of Pamela McMullen, who passed away on the morning of September 17th. Pamela was a lay minister here for many years and sang in our society choir and with the Threshold Singers. She moved to Colorado in April of 2020 to be near her daughter. Her final days were spent listening to music with her family. She is deeply missed. We light a candle for the brother of Anne Fleming as he passes through the final days of his life. We wish for peace for him and solace for those accompanying him on his final journey. Light a candle of memory and gratitude for the life of Tom Meeker, friend of John McGevna for over 50 years. They shared a love of golf and football and worked together as CIA imagery analysts at the National Photographic Interpretation Center. He was a good friend and is deeply missed. And one of us asks that we light a candle for friends and loved ones who are journeying through their final stage of life on this earth. May they progress with ease and know that they are loved. And I invite you now to turn with me both inward and outward as we enter together into an attitude of meditation and of prayer with these words of poetic aspiration from Derek Walcott. The time will come when, with elation, you will greet yourself arriving at your own door, in your own mirror, and each will smile at the other's welcome and say, "Sit here, eat." You will love again the stranger who was yourself. Give wine, give bread, give back your heart to itself, to the stranger who has loved you all your life, whom you ignored for another, who knows you by heart. Take down the love letters from the bookshelf, the photographs, the desperate notes. Peel your own image from the mirror. Sit. Feast on your life. Amen.
There is a love holding us. There is a love holding all that we love. There is a love holding all we rest in His
Our closing hymn today comes from the African American spiritual tradition, from the experience of slavery, and a perspective of those who historically have been unwelcome. It is a song which, for the vast majority of us, is not our own. It is helpful to sing spirituals because of what they teach us about ourselves and some of the remaining hurt in our society, and because there is value in drawing in voices that are not the majority among us. This song imagines a world radically transformed, and such transformation will require that those of us with power and privilege make space at the table. But we must never fall into the trap of making a song like this our own, if it is not. Let's rise in body and/or in spirit and sing with humility our closing hymn, number 407, we're going to sit at the welcome table.
Go with faith, not the kind that is called to move mountains, but the quieter sort that calls us to take the first step, even when the whole staircase sits beyond our view. And as we move toward the unseen, may we notice that the way unfolds only as we risk traveling it. And may we remember, trust, that on this journey, we are not alone. Blessed be. Go in peace. Please be at rest for the postman.